So talking about quantum leaps and choosing to believe in yourself and choosing to see that regardless of the situations that have gone on, things can dramatically change for you, and that there's so many different people, situations, events, teachers that will come in to help you remember who you are and help you either open doors. Sometimes they don't open doors, and that is a test in itself of your own resilience and your power. And are you going to accept that of, you know, all that's available for you, or are you going to find another way? So it's like when we look at different perspectives, I realized that I've kind of been initiated through that through my whole life. And I really came in because of the near-death experiences. It did open up a lot of healing and psychic abilities and gifts. So as a young child, I didn't know anything different other than being blown wide open to different realms, which also meant the darker side of things I saw just as much as the more angelic. So that I haven't known anything different. So part of my initiation was also to choose a lineage where I would have that experience, where I'd be initiated like the shaman to come in and master those gifts, because they were also things I would need now for this great awakening that we have on this planet, where not only did I have to embody the normal day-to-day person's life, you know, the woman in finance, the woman that's had the normal relationship, the woman that's, you know, risen through the ranks and tried to get a career and do good things in her life, but you're also going to have to integrate all of these other parts that are parts of you and just as much valued, even though mainstream has not acknowledged that yet. So again, it's like this, where do I fit in? Who am I? And my whole life has been this dichotomy really of this integration of self, and where how much of my life was created from my woundings and who I thought I was, and actually my potential of who actually am I now I've healed those things. And I realized the fast track that I went through in many different kind of periods of my life. Around 28, I had been in a relationship for 7.5 years. I was about to get married. I'd created this great life, earned loads of money, created the stability that I'd not had in my childhood. So I thought that I was righting all the wrongs. I'd found a good relationship. We traveled the world. So I'd had this, you know, the achievements and the things that fulfilled me, but there was still this big gaping hole because I'd created them based on really not knowing who I truly was. And I had the addictions, you know, the drinking, the partying. It was the work hard, play hard. It was also part of the kind of environment I was in London at the time. And knowing that kind of stuff happening also meant that there was this awakening really of understanding that I was about to make a choice to get married, to be in a situation that wasn't right. And I had a big epiphany, and then cancelled the wedding, ended the relationship, started everything again, but had to then start facing, why did I get into that situation? And that was really my turning point of the healing work. Now that's 2008, so that's quite a long time ago now. And it was around the financial crash time, which most people, they might be at that choice point now going, my God, I'm in this relationship, but we've got, you know, the world is not stable financially, so I can't leave this relationship. And I've been there with that choice, that decision, but knowing that everything, when I lent into the fact of listening to my soul, who I was and what my worth truly was, even if it didn't make convenient sense, it opened up all the doors and everything moved for me. When I took that big leap, when I trusted in myself, it literally opened up my field. It was like expansion, because whenever you're in a situation like that, and so many people sit in relationships for a long time, you're contracted, you're not fully yourself. You can't create, you can't manifest, you can't sit it out and wait for things to get better, because you're just not fully being yourself. So you can't attract it. I didn't know all of that stuff at the time, but I realized that it was more of a test, and that many people are going through that now. So that journey then took me on a journey of therapy, firstly, and a year of twice a week going to Harley Street in London for a type of therapy called cognitive analytical therapy. So it looked at like childhood patterns, attachment style, which more people know about now, child development, impacts on those woundings, but it did nothing to look at the subconscious, nothing to clear the trauma out of my body, nothing energetically, and nothing for the soul. So I had all of I could track the patterns, I understood it all, but I hadn't moved anything to actually resolve it. So although I left the relationship, although I'd made the physical changes, because I energetically hadn't changed, I was still able to continue to track these things. I just now said no because I knew what they were. And I think a lot of people get caught in a trap of like talking therapy constantly. I've gone to this therapist, next therapist, and they're not breaking these loops. And this is an invitation, because this was part of my lesson. Why am I still attracting the same thing if I'm doing all this healing work? And I get a lot of people come to me that are like, you know, I've been doing the same healing work for 10 years and it's still the same problem. And we resolve it in like a month working together. It's because it's not been deep enough. So it led me on this next kind of investigation. And I then retrained as a clinical hypnotherapist. So I was looking at went into past life regression within that, which was interesting, but not at the depth that is needed. And then it went into really the subconscious work. So it gave me this toolkit, which was great. It showed me faster transformation for things like addictions and stuff through the clinical hypnotherapy, which is great. It had more of a depth around psychological terms and all of this kind of stuff. But then I began to see that even these modalities had belief constructs that came in from men during certain periods of time that had quite misogynistic views around women, their health and everything. So I'm like, this is just more beliefs. This is more boxes that we've been, put in. And I was feeling this real urge of expansion, knowing that there was more of me. But these constructs that I was learning that were meant to help people, it's a label, it's a branding. It was another way of constricting our expression. And I knew it deep down. And I actually ended up not practicing Gestalt therapy after qualifying because I saw stuff that I didn't agree with in that modality. So next thing you know, it was like this soul initiation from about 2014, where it was then time to do the soul work. And that's when everything changed. I had 300 past lives become active. So we were talking about dream states. And I went through this process of actually when a past life gets activated, you suddenly begin to understand all the relationships that are connected to you at this time and the situations you're in, who those players were, and how past choices are now coming up for, clearing. And I was obviously working in the bank at the time, so I had to figure out ways of not only navigating this. So I found different healers at the time who could take me so far, and then it was about me evolving into something that I could really process it at that depth whilst keeping my feet on the ground. But what it did is it raised my consciousness on a permanent level in such a fast way that it was like this leapfrog. And because I'd had all of this other training, it just locked in. And it was like this huge evolutionary shift over about 18 months, 2 years. And then it was like, okay, set the business up. Because now what you have created, most people would never go through that kind of experience in a, very short period of time. Bear with me just 1 second.
Oh yeah, no problem.
If you want to just very quickly.
No problem at all.
Sorry. The wire wasn't there. I don't want this to die. Sorry. I would never ever go through any experience of that level of intensity ever. So I was like, you know what? If I drop dead tomorrow, what is the legacy piece of work that this whole thing has brought about? So I created my first program, set the business up, and that just kind of went boom because there were so many people that needed it to go at a deeper level. And everything that I've kind of been on this journey of like, how do I make my pain to purpose or my offering of expansion and wisdom to help people whilst keeping their feet on the ground and being authentic to themselves and continuing to learn and grow in a way that is embodied so that they continue to, run their family lives and, because it's not about escaping a 3D, which is much of the kind of teachings now. It's actually about how do I allow more of my soul consciousness to be in this physical form, enjoying a physical, embodied experience and not running away and not having to only experience that in the temple or like the hermit or going off to the jungle to take ayahuasca to process this stuff. It's like I didn't get a choice like that. I literally would have to be able to do that in the toilets at work, to go in and literally go through those different levels, probably 20 minutes